The chocolate muffin is the best marketing story in the world.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast, presented by Hippo Direct. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, Digital Marketing Manager at Hippo Direct. This is episode 2. So episode 1, I think it went pretty well. A little, biased there because produced it, but we're here, and it's episode 2. So this episode we have a really, really cool guest. He is someone I used to work with, definitely one of my favorite people I ever worked with, and he's an all-around cool guy. His name's Brendan O'Mara. He's the Digital Marketing Director for North America at BIC. I think this episode does a really good job of hitting on the differences of agency versus client-side work, some great ideas for how to think creative and how to think like a child, and also a lot of talk about some of the best marketing campaigns of all time. So enjoy the show, and catch you on the flip side. Party on. We are super excited to have a very, very special guest today, Mr. Brendan O'Mara, BOM, my former digital marketing director at my previous job, and all around super cool dude. He might be humble and not say how cool he is, but everybody knows how cool he is. He's the man, Brendan O'Mara. He is now the digital marketing director for North America at BIC. So he's your hookup for lighters, pens, whiteout, whatever product you want to name. But Brendan, welcome on the show.
Oh, thanks,
super excited
Max.
to have you.
I'm excited to be here. A little less excited than I was last week when we talked about this. I thought I was going to be first, but it's okay. My feelings are only hurt a little bit.
Oh, okay. Did you get the tissues I was sending in the mail for you? Because I was.
No.
Yeah, we'll take a little bit less excited as long as it's not total anger. Then we'll make do.
I couldn't get mad at you, buddy. This is great. I actually think Hippo Direct's got some exciting stuff going on. So I'm really interested to be a part of this, and I thank you for inviting me.
Oh, of course. Well, super excited to have you. I think we're going to have a great conversation today. We're going to have it's going to cover all sorts of range of topics, and we're going to have some cool, fun segments. Everything from we're going to have some more serious stuff, but also some more fun rapid fire stuff and some stuff. I'll try to catch you off guard, but Brendan's he's pretty good with the quick questions, so we'll see if I can swing one past you.
Okay.
Anyway, Brendan, so you're at BIC now. Can you give a little brief summary of sort of how you got into the marketing space and your mini resume of where you've been from the agency and then CPG side?
Sure. So like all good stories, it starts in a bar.
Of course.
No, it's actually true. It starts in a bar. I was working my way through college as a bartender and had a friend from a gym who worked at an agency, a smaller shop that has since been purchased and grown and sold and bought and whatnot. This is years ago. It's actually getting to the point where it's more years than I care to mention exactly.
3 years, right?
But while bartending, I had talked about going away for the summer. And she said, well, when you come back, our company's usually hiring entry-level marketing folks. And I got a job at an agency when I came back that fall and kind of haven't looked back in that sense. All these plans I had after college for going down a specific road didn't happen. I ended up in marketing instead and found a lot of success. And I know you're talking about creativity. The best thing for me was all my marketing jobs have never really been the same thing 2 days in a row. I've enjoyed it. I went from 3 different agencies, spent about 15 years doing agency side work, and then switched over to client side marketing, where I worked with you, of course, in the past. And now at BIC, I'm the director for digital for North America, and I'm a really cool position. It's new to the company as of about a year ago. I think I'm in my 11th month here. It didn't exist before, so I'm really making my own way and reshaping how the company goes to market from a digital marketing standpoint.
That's awesome. It's cool how you've had such a different range and you've seen it kind of from both sides. And now have you ever had a role that's quite like this one where you're really basically creating a whole new apartment? I mean, a whole new department.
Honestly, the role at our last job when we worked together, that didn't exist either. And when I started for wasn't where I ended up. So that was a good thing. But the company businesses are so different. So you had mentioned being a hookup for, pens and lighters and whatnot, but also the shaving business is pretty dynamic.
Yes.
When you think about who's in the category with the likes of Dollar Shave Club and Harry's and Gillette and all those key players, it's all the businesses have something very interesting and unique going on with them in all of our categories. And the way they want to go to market is different also. So I've never had a job exactly like this one. It's really been a terrific first year with the company, and I work with a lot of great people, and there's a ton of energy around the business and what we're trying to build together. So it's been a lot of fun.
Right. And yeah, I'm sorry for forgetting to mention razors. I just assume based on the fact that you grow your hair out was it November, 5 or 6 weeks?
Thanksgiving,
Yes,
yeah,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, you got to do the Thanksgiving Day beard. That's one of the
Yes.
things when you got that many brothers and they start that tradition. So I'm the youngest of 11 kids. 7 of those 11 are boys. So I think we're probably on our, again, dating myself, but we're probably on our 40th year of playing football every Thanksgiving.
That's amazing. That's the true Thanksgiving tradition. I guess it's a tough time for Bix business then, that time of year with all you guys doing the beard grow out then.
Yeah, November definitely takes a bite out of business, right? But
Right.
hopefully we can get people to be shaving with us when they're clearing that stubble off their face.
Right.
And I know you're probably shaved twice today just in preparation for this call.
I did. I'm actually shaving right now. We're taking this call from the restroom, so
Nice.
you might you might have stumbled a bit too far with that one.
That's okay. I'm glad it's a podcast and not anything visual. That's all.
Right. Yes, that's why I chose podcast. So let's talk a little bit about agency side versus client side, since you've had experience in both. What's kind of the biggest difference that you've seen, sort of jumping back and forth there, and what have you liked about it, and what were you not too crazy about?
Sure. I'd say the biggest difference, that's probably going to be meaningful for lots of people right away is pants.
Yes.
The first thing you notice, when I interviewed at my first client side job, I think I was wearing either jeans or shorts or something like that, because agency life, if you weren't at the meeting, was pretty laid back. And
Yeah.
the unstructured, free-flowing life of agencies is a ton of fun, but that was one of the first things I felt like I was losing. And I also felt like agencies gave you a chance, and this is my initial thought, which I'm going to go a little deeper on in a minute, but I thought agencies allowed you to be a little more creative because
Yep.
client sides are usually bigger companies and they have a lot of structure and a lot of rules. And those rules still are something I struggle with. I keep telling agency people I work with that I haven't been a client long enough to be a good one yet. So if I ask you questions I try to be on their side when I can and understand them. And as you said, playing both sides helps. But
Right.
I really did find that I couldn't let that hamper me, that I felt that a client side spot was less creative in the sense that it's just, I have to use my creativity in a different way now. And it's a lot more around influencing and consensus building and finding the right way to deliver a creative idea that could get people excited.
Right. Yeah. It's so different from a structure standpoint. So that totally makes sense from the creative side. And so is it more of a challenge to have that creativity then on the client side, since there is more structure than the agency side?
Well, I think it's a great question because a lot of people who haven't worked both sides don't see the difference in the ways the work gets done. So there are more challenges because you're within a certain set of rules and trying to follow what's going on, and also dealing with some people in the organization who might think that ideas are the agency's jobs
Right.
and not necessarily the client side responsibility.
Yep.
But there's also a growing number of people who want the good idea regardless of where it comes from. And I think figuring out when and why and how, and actually having a sound reason behind what you're trying to recommend from a creative standpoint is really what gets their attention.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is a perfect segue into this. I want to have a segment here that's really focused on that creativity point. One of the big things we want to hit on in this Wild Business Growth podcast is the topic of unleashing creativity.
Okay.
So where it comes into play in your everyday life, at work, outside of work, where you sort of get that creative inspiration from. And you're the perfect guest for this, because I know, I mean, even think back to I think it was your old Twitter bio you used to say, and you backed it up. You said it in person too. I remember early on at the company, you said you believe that everyone is creative. They just need to find a way to let it out.
Yeah, you just need to dig it out of them.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. So first question for under this creativity umbrella then is, how big of a role does creativity play in your job then, in your current role?
Totally, every day, all about it, nonstop. In fact, I'm trying to not approach things the way other people would think about them, not so I can stand out and be unique, but just because my mind happens to work that way. And I think, not try to jump ahead to questions, but I think a lot of people get the creativity beaten out of them from trying to follow rules, going back to your last question, and delivering what people expect of them. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. And
Yeah.
I probably have a lot of habits that would make bosses crazy. Like half the time, it looks like in a meeting, I probably look as if I'm not paying attention and I'm doodling like crazy.
Right.
So I'm actually thinking and listening and just letting my mind kind of wander so that I can see if I can address, because the room is full of people trying to find the same answer to a question or a challenge. But if you've been doing this for too long and you don't rely on some creativity, you're going to end up with the same kind of answers over and over again that are pretty boring and not exciting. So I think you got to open up your mind, not only for yourself, but you have to open your mind to other people too, because a lot of people fall in love with their own creativity and their own ideas and don't have room for anyone else's. And the worst thing you can do to somebody is shut down some of their creativity, because those people may never contribute again. So
Right.
I was a victim too. I'll admit it, of my own advice here, where agency side, I used to love my own idea and try to push for it even in something as simple as a brainstorm. I pitched a lot of new business and I wanted to see my ideas win. But if you're thinking about what other people have to say and stop and actually listen to it, that can open up even stronger ideas, either through collaboration or sometimes just listening to someone's crazy idea that maybe was never going to see the light of day. Just turned something on in my brain that I took in a different direction. And it really helps get something better in the end. So I'm rambling, and I'm going to let you jump in with another question then, so I can stop rambling.
No, the more it's a creative ramble. No, the rambles, whatever you want to call it, ramble, tangent, in detail answers are the best part. That's the best part of podcasts. So the more the merrier. On that, you made me think of something with that, with your last answer there, because there is kind of that internal struggle every time you have an idea and your boss, if the boss goes with a different idea, it makes me think back to, did you watch Mad Men by any chance?
I am the only person in the marketing and advertising industry who's never seen an episode.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That's a good achievement though. Actually, we should print out a plaque for you or something. But I didn't start. I was right along with you until about 3 weeks ago, and now I started, since it's a new show. But there's so many times in that show where the characters at the agency get really pissed off at each other when someone goes with their idea or someone else's idea instead of theirs, and it's the same sort of thing. It's like it creates so much drama, so you really have to be smart with how you handle it. Another question on that creativity note.
Absolutely.
What do you do? I mean, you mentioned that you doodle, which I know is a popular tactic for sort of letting your mind sort of subconsciously wander, I guess, brainstorming things. What other tricks do you have for staying creative and bringing about that creativity?
Specific to my trade, one of the things I like to do is keep up to speed with online pubs related to marketing, digital marketing, content creation, et cetera, because the best ideas are always insight based and something you could sum up and concretely explain to somebody else. It's the whole, I get it and I can tell you simply so you get it, and that's cool. But on a personal note, I have a lot of other things that I think help me stay creative. First, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you I have the mind of a child. I have 3 children under the age of 13, and I love interacting with them, and I love what they're into, and I read the books they read, and I also do a lot of my own reading myself.
Right.
I am one of the business people that doesn't read business books. I read fiction, and I dig it. My degree is actually in English Lit, so when I talked earlier about the path here, I expected to come back and be a teacher at one point, and then I got into marketing and just kept running. But I think reading is really good. I think exposing yourself to different types of stuff, whether it's music or, again, with my kids, it's the way we play together, the stuff they invent. It's sort of brought me back to just being that kind of mindset, and it's been really helpful for me.
Right. I love that mantra. Think like a child. It becomes so important. Do you happen to have a favorite fictional kids book?
Favorite fictional kids book?
Favorite kids book?
I'd have to think about kids specifically. I did read the whole Harry Potter series, which was awesome. I've read it a couple times. And
Okay. Yeah.
2 of my kids have gone through the whole series. My youngest is 7. He's not ready for the Harry Potter stuff yet. Growing up, oddly enough, I can't get my kids into this one, but growing up and to this day, Treasure Island is one of my favorite books. That's a pretty cool old pirate school kind of pirate story, buried treasure, bunch of awesomeness.
I feel like you can't go wrong with the pirate world. And then and your note about Harry Potter, it still amazes me. I mean, talk about creativity. The J.K. Rowling thought of that entire world, to be able to think of something that people all over the world fall in love with, and it's a fictional world and all fictional characters and fictional superpowers. And well, it depends if you believe it or not. But Truly impressive, and I'm sure your kids are loving it, and your youngest will love it when they get of age.
Absolutely. Yeah. And someday we're going to talk about whether or not you believe it's real. Cause I thought I heard something in there that's, I'm interested in chasing down on another date.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you look outside, you see broomsticks flying around, and you just.
All right.
This started as a non-fictional podcast, but I think we're going to blur the lines a little bit to keep it interesting.
Good deal.
What else do you do for inspiration? So you mentioned that you're really interested. You're not a business book reader, but you do keep up with trade publications.
Yes.
Any of those that are of your personal favorites?
Probably a lot of the usual suspects. So if you're reading Ad Age or Ad Week, those are two mainstays for anyone who's doing what we're doing, not only to keep track of competition, but also, I'm members of a couple of groups like the Association of National Advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at case studies for what's winning the awards. Not that awards are any kind of measure I'm chasing. I'm not going after the award, but I like some of the best thinking does end up rising to the top in those things.
Right.
I read The Drum a lot, Mashable,
Mm-hmm.
follow a lot of different thought leaders on Twitter from the space, whether it's old school like Seth Godin and his books or his tweets to just actually other people who have roles similar to mine
Mm-hmm.
and what they typically will post and what they see as mattering, or other agency folks too.
How often do you read Seth's blog? This is Seth's blog.
This is Seth's blog. I kind of hot and cold on that one. So I go, it's when I see something interesting. Usually he's a find through Twitter and then I'll chase it down. And I think, by the way, people get crazed about the black hole of the web and how I started out. I was going to go read this email, but instead this tab was up and
Right.
I click this link. And then before you know it, 3 hours is over. I actually think that's good for creativity. You can't abuse it because you got to get your work done, but letting your mind kind of chase down a bunch of different things that you think is interesting is really cool. And the topics don't have to even be related. So
yeah,
I follow a lot of stuff with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I think what he talks about with space is super cool. And I think of the minds that make that kind of stuff, and I know that I'm not qualified to even do basic math with those folks, but it's an example of how tangential interests can just keep your mind kind of flexible.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think there's huge value in looking in different categories and different things that are not even remotely related to your direct line of work. But I'm a little disappointed though, because I thought you were an expert stargazer, Brendan. So that's a little a little tough pill to swallow. But I'll keep looking up. I love that tidbit though. I mean, it's true. Like, if people always say that don't have Facebook open while you're at work, and which is obviously different if we're in the digital marketing space. But I like that idea that you were just speaking of that it could be really good for creativity to kind of get distracted more or less and wander around and stumble on a few things every now and then. What's the negative side of it if it actually spurs and creates a new idea because of it?
Yeah, I agree, and I don't have any kind of set organized philosophy around this, but it sort of gets me to thinking there's sort of mind on and mind off time. It's the same reason people tell you vacation's important and how to unplug. And by the way, I am like me from vacations. I don't answer anybody. I don't look at anything, and I don't care. That's the whole point of vacation. But your mind can take little short vacations. And I also think there's importance in having non-connected time. And that could be anything. That could be a couple hours of yard work. I do when I get time that I'm not spending with my kids or my family, I have a woodworking shop. I love woodworking. That's really creative as far as building something, but it's a totally different set of skills. It's more hands-on and less mental stress, and it's really cool. And it can be frustrating too, but it's a lot of fun for me. I think of it as fun, and I lose time in that. So the stuff that you can do to change the way your mind is functioning is really, that's totally going to be a key to helping you keep your creativity up.
Yeah, I love it. And I didn't know you were such a woodworking expert. Okay, what's your favorite thing to? So
the last thing I made the very last thing I made was little bar cutting boards, like for lemons, limes, those kind of things. I try to I'll shoot you a picture of it later. It was a couple different kinds of wood and then just a different type of pattern. It came out pretty cool. But my best project in recent time was I built my kids a treehouse.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Which is cool. And it ended up coming out more like a tiny house than a tree house. I started out with this should be a platform with some sticks on it that keeps them from falling off the edge. And it actually ended up with a self-closing door, windows, angled roof, triangle skylights, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So
Triangle skylight. That sounds amazing.
it was fun.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would be proud.
You can go out stargazing through the skylights there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's pivot here to kind of talk about something different and something that's gone on recently. So this is a segment called the Wild Business Shout Out of the Week. The Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
Shout out.
Every single week, each episode, we're going to have one creative marketing campaign in recent memory that I'm going to bring up, and then we'll discuss.
Okay.
So this one, the one I want to talk about this time is, did you ever see, it was back on Mother's Day, Kraft's Swear Like a Mother campaign?
Yes. Love that campaign. I'm not even sure if it was this year or last year, but it seems to be having a life that keeps coming back. And I loved it. It was insight based. Some of the stuff like I talked about before, some of the best ideas come from an insight, and they actually farmed out their own insight, which was cool. They did a survey because we studied this case a little bit here, and they surveyed a bunch of moms and found out that almost 3/4 of them admit they've sworn in front of their kids.
Wow.
And it seems like something that would be counterintuitive because moms are all loving and wonderful and whatnot, but it was funny, and they took a fun turn on it, and the video that went with it became something that got sticky and sort of made the rounds as far as what everyone likes to call, the viral video. And
right.
It's the same kind of thing. Someone took a creative idea based on an insight that was sort of like an unknown observation about mom's behavior, and took it out, and a brand was brave enough.
Yeah.
That's the other part about creativity, is sometimes being brave, right? And running with an idea. You think of Kraft as a company, pretty steadfast to their values, and you don't think of them as fielding a short video with about 14 bleeps in it that had to be cut out, with a really calm looking mom that was just showing what it's like to be a mother in certain situations. So that was one that I think, I don't know if it's recent enough, but I think it was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think, and the first thing that came to my mind with that campaign was, holy shit. Hi, this is Greg Brandstetter, founder of Hippo Direct. Has all this wild growth talk made you hungry for some new customers? Well, here's your recipe for success. Hippo Direct can help you acquire new clients using proven methods such as postal mailings, email marketing, and targeted ads on Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We can even create a customized leads and prospecting database for you. So check out hippodirect.com and contact us today. Do you have, because I know you're a big fan of viral marketing campaigns. Do you have a favorite digital marketing campaign or viral video of all time?
I'm trying to think differently here because it's so easy. Everyone you ask that, every 10 people, 8 of them are going to say Dove's campaign for real beauty.
Right.
And someone are going to say like the Like a Girl campaign. I actually think Under Armour has done some amazing stuff. So if I think of the Misty Copeland ballet and some of their empowerment stuff that they've done in general as a campaignable kind of series over the last 2 or 3 years has been very powerful. Again, insight-based, hits an emotional cue.
Right.
They're just killing it. They're really good at that. But that's not the best marketing campaign of all time. Do you know what the best marketing campaign of all time is?
The Wild Business Growth Podcast.
It's close. It's getting there. The chocolate muffin is the best marketing story in the world. Because
really?
Well,
I'm interested. I'm hooked.
Okay, now listen. Muffins are for breakfast, right?
Yep.
Most of the time. Can you eat chocolate cake, a big old giant hunk of it for breakfast with a coffee in front of other people and feel good about yourself?
No, that's a great point.
But if I change the shape and call it a muffin, you're not having cake, you're having a muffin.
Exactly.
Now everything is great.
And you got to eat it like that too.
Yes. And it's brilliant. And it's so brilliant that people just all started making them everywhere. And it's sad that no one branded that, because that could have been a multi-million-dollar idea. But you heard it here first.
I'm not editing that one out. That is, no, that's great. I will never look at a chocolate muffin the same way again ever. And I also know what I'm having for breakfast tomorrow. So talk about 2 birds with 1 stone.
2 for 1. There you go.
Okay, so let's move ahead here.
Sure.
So this is the one segment that's a little bit darker, and I don't want to go too dark. Nothing too dark here.
Okay.
If you need to break into the tissues that I sent last time, then they're there.
Deal. I'm ready.
Okay. So this one, I think something that's always interesting to hear and that people can learn a lot from is learning from mistakes and learning from people's regrets. So and it can be very powerful. And sometimes failure or mistakes are the best teacher, as we all know. So, is there anything that is a big part of your career now that you wish you would have done earlier? Is there anything that you really regret not doing earlier?
Whew, that's I didn't see that one coming. So nice work. Nice work on that one.
Thank you.
I would say it's hard because I have one of those kind of philosophies on life where I'm sort of where I'm supposed to be in my mind at almost all points.
Right.
There's definitely jobs I've looked at and maybe could have gone after and didn't, but I really don't have I don't have a rearview mirror where I'm looking back and second guessing myself because there's too much. I'm really lucky. First off, I'm like one of the luckiest guys. I got a great family. I have a great place to live. I have a great job, and I'm usually pretty happy wherever I am. That doesn't mean I live without regrets. I think the personal ones probably, and I mean by personal, I mean interpersonal, are always gonna be in the front of my mind more so than a career one. And it literally could be something as simple as, a time where you intentionally or unintentionally hurt someone else's feelings in a big way. Those types of things mean more to me than whether I made the right choice about where I'm working today versus where I'm working tomorrow. At the end of what you do, if you're going to sell creativity, if you're going to sell anything, if you're going to run any kind of business, the relationship parts of it are really what makes the difference because
Right.
ultimately, and I hope I'm not going too dark on your particular brand here, but
No.
like with Hippo, the difference isn't going to be what you offer.
Right.
The difference is going to be how you take care of the people you offer it
Right.
to.
Absolutely.
Right. It's what you say and what you deliver and how you do it. And it's those types of failures when I miss on those things are what I look back on and say, that's what I wake up and think I want to do differently, not necessarily a career move.
Right. That's true. You know what? That was just too dark, Brendan. So we're going to sign off now.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding. That was great. And that was real genuine. Appreciate it. So let's bring it up a notch. Let's do a little bit more lighthearted before we wrap up here. So real quick, I'll ask you some random questions and then we'll get into a more rapid fire question.
Let's do it.
Speed round. First, do you have any? This is a segment called we call it the unusual. So phrases, quirks, and pet peeves.
Okay.
What's your biggest pet peeves, or maybe it's something about you personally that people might view as a quirk, but that you've always done and you enjoy shamelessly doing? Because we all have them.
Sure. I can do both. So pet peeve side or phrases side, I think on the pet peeve side, people talk about flushing things out instead of fleshing them out. It makes me cringe.
Oh, yeah. I just cringed,
That's
actually.
one. Yeah, that one makes me crazy, as does the expression, and I don't know why this one bothers me so much, but when people say, "Can I pick your brain?"
Oh,
I just never liked that.
it's the picking, I think.
I think it is, and this is even before all the zombie shows. I just didn't want anyone in my brain, So I hate those are two pet peeve things. I'm a big pet peeve general attitude wise, like victims. Hate victims.
Mhm.
I don't hate anybody,
Right.
obviously, but I don't like people who are woe is me and this is it all happening
Right, exactly.
to me. It's just like get off your ass and fix it,
Yeah.
And then on stuff I do that people probably notice. So I give a lot of people nicknames, Max Branding. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So
Which is a great nickname, by the way.
Max Branding. All right. And I don't know why. I think I find in an office setting who people look like. It's just like this quirky thing.
Oh,
so
that is a great one.
I will go around, I will be in a meeting and look up someone's photo on IMDb or something and show it to the person next to me and be like, doesn't it, that guy across the table, doesn't that look like, this person? So I don't know why, but I've always just been just a weird quirk. I guess that's why they call them quirks. I don't know why it happens, but
it's super fun to do that. I think
it is.
It's so Brendan, you are officially the doppelganger king.
Yeah. Yeah.
King of the doppelgangers.
Exactly. And by the way, have you ever looked at, someone nailed me on it in the reverse sense, which is, are you a college basketball fan?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So have you ever seen the University of Virginia head coach?
Yes.
Tony.
Yes. I wasn't going to say anything, but it was, I was thinking of it all first round of March Madness this year.
Yeah. Every time March Madness comes on, someone emails me and they're like, you look like Tony Bennett. I'm like, oh, I never saw that before, but I can actually see it. I mean, he's a little better looking than I am and a little younger, but otherwise.
No. I probably both of those things are false. And I strongly believe, Brendan, that you would lead his basketball team further in the tournament this year than he did. That was a tough one. I still can't believe it happened.
That was rough. Man.
Okay, so then let's do some rapid fire Q&A then. This will be a lot different questions than we've talked about so far already. So you ready? You got your seatbelt on?
Ready.
Okay. Favorite food?
Tacos.
That's a good one. Now I'm hungry. Favorite type of music?
Reggae.
Do you have a favorite artist?
Got to go with the chalk there on that one. That's Bob Marley and the Wailers. Easy. All day.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I've never heard of him, actually. Kidding. Classic. Favorite... Do you have a favorite TV show that you watch?
Changes all the time, and it could be situational. Literally, my daughter and I actually have been watching that show when it's on. I think it's on Discovery, called The Curse of Oak Island, and it's about these guys doing this crazy treasure hunt on this island where everything from Templar gold to like the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be buried somewhere. It's kind of cool. So I think I like the show as a favorite show because I'm sitting there watching it with my daughter, and the fact that my 13-year-old girl wants to do anything with me, it makes me happy.
Right. That's nice. Do you watch more kids shows than adult shows now?
Very little on the kids show. I don't watch a ton of TV. I'll watch something on. I watch a lot of YouTube. Maybe it's because of my business, but I also find the subject matter kind of cool. Or I'll be watching YouTube or Netflix or Amazon Prime while my wife is watching something that I don't want to watch.
Right.
So I can just be next to her, and
right, happens.
Typical situation these days where two different screens are in the same room at the same time, but at least we're in close proximity to each other.
Right. Okay. Back to the Rapids a little bit more. Favorite season of the year?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with autumn.
Autumn. That's a nice one. I have a warm, comfortable feeling now.
I know.
I think it's the word too. That word is underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to use that.
Yeah. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
The favorite place is a toss-up between my honeymoon in Tortola, which was probably experience driven, but Ireland is tough to beat, man. I've been there a couple times, and I would go back in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, you can never have too many times there.
That's right.
Last one. This is a throwback.
Okay.
White and gold or blue and black? The dress.
Blue and black. Definitely. I saw blue and black. It took me a second for that to connect in my brain, but then I remembered what you were talking about. Did you get blue and black too?
I did. Actually, the first time I saw it, one of my friends was how I saw it at first, and I saw it on the Twitter timeline. He's a Pacers fan, and he said white and gold because of the Pacers. So I was thinking that, and then pretty much every other time I saw blue and black.
Nice.
But that's a throwback. Okay, awesome. So this has been great, Brandon. Cannot thank you enough for joining on the podcast. It's been super great talking about all sorts of things from creativity to your daughter's favorite show to viral marketing trends from 2 to 3 years ago. So I want to make sure, and of course, we'd be happy to have you on again sometime in the future. I'm sure we can talk all day. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So I would say most of what I'm thinking about this type of space is, and a lot of it is creativity and different types of ideas, would probably be on Twitter. From an easy way to do that, I'm at Brendan O'Mara. So that's BrendanOmara. It's all one word, no apostrophe. Should be there, but apostrophes give people trouble. So I don't know why.
Right.
But that's me.
Perfect.
That's probably the best. Send me a message or follow. I usually follow most folks with good brains back, which is nice.
The more good brains, the better.
That's right.
Perfect. Awesome. So that's Brendan. So make sure follow Brendan, interact with him, go say hey. Tell him he looks like Tony Bennett on Twitter.
I tell you what, people who tweet to me and definitely mention Hippo, I'll know where it came from, and I would definitely make sure I connect with those folks.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, appreciate it. All right, that was Brendan, and that was another edition of the Wild Business Growth Podcast. So hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you're going to go eat a chocolate muffin right away. You know the drill. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure to leave a review, give us 5-star rating, download and subscribe. If you're listening to us anywhere else on any of these other great music platforms and podcast platforms, then do the same thing. Show us some love where you can. So thanks again. This has been the Wild Business Growth Podcast. If you have any comments or feedback on the show, hit us up at our social media handles at Hippo Direct. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter. We'll see you next week. Let your business run wild. Bring on the bongos!